Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm the last one before lunch, and I will try to finish as quick as possible. And yeah, my name is Tiangxing. Work with Dr. Michael Stark, and one research we are undertaking is assessing crop lodging over an experimental maize field using UAS images. Why we are talking about maize lodging? Well, there are two kinds of lodgings. Stalk lodging and root lodging. Stalk lodging refers to bending over or displacement of the above ground stalk from the upright stain. That is stalk lodging. The other type of lodging is root lodging. Root lodging refers to damage of the root soil attachment. And lodging is one of the major destructive factors that leads to degraded grain quality, reduced yield, delayed harvest time, and increased drying cost. And a variety of contributing causes can lead to the lodging before the crop is harvested. For instance, disease, pest, excessive rains, and inclement weather, wind, and overgrowth, and excessive nitrogen, etc. Here are two images showing the lodging, how lodging happens, what lodging is like on ground and the UAS image. And traditional lodging detection strategies mainly relies on ground data collection, which is laborious, subjective, and also limited in coverage. And the recent studies focused on started focusing on ground and spaceborne observation for lodging severity detection or responses to biotic or abiotic stress factors. And nowadays, rapid development in UAS and the sensor technology has allowed accurate and accessible monitoring of crop development and health status with adequate temporal, spatial, and spectral resolutions. So here in our research, in our work, we aimed to introduce a new method for detecting lodging plants using UAS imagery. Our objectives are twofold. One is to investigate the potential for maize lodging detection using the photogrammetric algorithms and geospatial computing analysis techniques. And the second objective for us is to directly and quantitatively assess maize lodging on a small scale, which is on a per row scale or per plot scale for the field. This is our study area, so of course in Corpus Christi. And we have two portions of the field. The upper portion and the lower portion is deep further south into the dirt road. It's for the maize. They're planting maize, and it has 150 meters wide, and the upper portion has 15 meters long. The lower portion has 61 meters long. And we have a few ground control points planted around the two portions of the field. And we have the field data collection. We actually have three kinds of data collection on the field. One is the plant height. We have the plant height over 5 different dates, from late, I guess it's late April to late June. And each plant measured this is on a per plot basis. And each plot measured 3 sample plants. We make an average value for the as the plant height for that plot. And the second kind of ground data, field data is the maize lodging, which is measured on a per row basis. We measured two kinds of lodging data. Actually, the first one is not lodging. This is the plant stand count. It's the total plant count per row. And the second is actually the lodging data. That is the number of lodged maize plants. Actually, that's in our research, in our work, is defined as any maize plants with stocks manifesting an approximate of inclination of about 60 degree or 60 or maybe larger, 60 or 70 from a vertical position and would not likely be processed by combine. And this is the second type of field data. The third type is yield, and the maize is harvested on August 5th, 2016, and the data we used is the yield adjusted to a standard 15% moisture in bushels per acre. Here we have different kinds of cameras used. Actually, we have 4 types of platform. The first one is EB. It's an EB platform, which takes Canon PowerShot S110. This is an NR camera, it's a near infrared camera. And the second is the GoPro Hero 3 Plus Black Edition that is carried by a 3DR Solo quadcopter. And the third and the fourth are DJI cameras, and which comes with the DJI Phantom 4 and the DJI Phantom 2 Vision Plus platforms. Here are the old flight schedules we flew last year in the growing season, and we aim to make a seamless coverage across the whole season and over all the growing stages, starting from April 12th to mid-June to mid-July, July 15th. Okay, here are several sample images showing the images by the platform as well as on the ground. The first is on the ground. The second is the sample image taken by GoPro Hero 3 Plus. And the third is the sample image from DJI Phantom 4. And the fourth one is the sample flight image from EB, as this is a near infrared image. So it's the color is different from the latter three. This is a diagram from the UAS image processing, and I believe Dr. Michael Stark has very well introduced the whole procedure and the background of the image processing procedure. In a nutshell, we loaded all the UAS images into a state-of-the-art photogrammetric software to generate 2 kinds of products: 3D point cloud and orthomosaic images. Here we primarily, in this work, we primarily use the 3D point cloud, which is used to generate a digital surface model. Here we use the digital surface model to generate a canopy height model, which has been well introduced by Dr. Qingha Zheng. And we use the digital surface model from different days and subtract the bare Earth DEM to get the canopy height model. The bare Earth DEM can be obtained by flying over the crop field before the planting season, or at least before the emergence of the crops. Here is the how we extract the height measurement from the canopy height model. Here we developed the centerline method to extract the height models, to extract the height metrics. The first one is to determine the centerline of each individual rows. And here, let's see, is several sign color center lines around this edge of the maize row. And the second, we developed an automated method from Python to draw a polygon according to the center lines. We can predefine the width of each polygon along with the center line. Here in our work, we define it like 20 centimeters along for the width, which means 10 centimeters on each side of the center line. 10 centimeters, 10 centimeters, 10 centimeters, 10 centimeters. So the third one is to compute the height metrics based on the height signals in the polygon. So here in this method, we can get an accurate height information for the maize, because maize is a little bit different from cotton, because cotton usually have a very smooth curve on the for the profile, but for maize, because it's very sharp, it has very sharp shape. If you measure it off from the center line, it can be probably off for you measuring the height. This is the method we developed for the height extraction. And this is our core part for grid-based lodging detection. I'm not going to expand too much because this is too much math. But in a nutshell, we have a few steps. The first is to geometrically divide a polygon into multiple grid cells along the center line. Here we have grid cells, grid cells, grid cells, a few multiple grid cells along each of the center line polygon. And the second is our core method to determine the crop lodging. This equation has input, output. The output here, NP, is a plant stand count. The second one is the lodging plants in a row in this polygon. And the third one is the lodging rate for a single row. And for the equation is all the grades within the centerline polygon. And as well, we have a few threshold parameters. A grade is determined. This determines non-lodging only if it satisfies these two conditional equations. Here, I'm going to talk about a little bit more about why we choose these two conditional statement. We select 99 height percentile, 90 height in percentile, and their corresponding threshold. The reason why we select those two height percentile is because 99 percentile in height is frequently used to represent the plant height, and is therefore used to compare with the first threshold, to compare with this threshold to determine if there exists at least 1% height signal that in a grid cell that prevent a grid cell from being detected as lodging. And on the other hand, in our research, we sometimes discovered within a grid cell, within the lodging grid cell, this conditional statement was satisfied that mistakenly classified a grid cell as non-lodging. This is because sometimes the height signals were contaminated by processing and the measurement noises. So we introduced the second threshold to check if there are at least 10% height signals that surpasses the second threshold to distinguish that from being detected as non-lodging. I know I'm saying like tongue twist, but yeah, but I'm not going to expect too much about the math. And along here, we have the following up stages to detect the numbers of lodged plants in the grid in a specific grid cell, and finally we can detect the number of lodged plants in the row, and also the total number of plants the lodging rate can be computed straightforwardly. Here is the complete flow chart of the whole algorithm. Here we have the validation of the UAS-derived height against the ground observations. This is for the upper portion of the field. Remember, we have two portions. And x-axis shows the ground measured maize height, and the y-axis shows the UAS measured maize height. And it aligned very well because it has a very, very neat one-to-one relationship. And this is for the lower portion of the field. Again, this is the x-axis shows the ground measured maize height, and the y-axis shows the UAS measured height. All in 99th percentile in height. And here it shows the height estimation over 10 exemplary non-lodging plots. And this in general has a rough sigmoidal height model, and over 10 different plots. Here we have used different platforms. The red is the DJI Phantom 4, and the black is from EB, and the blue is from Solo. It's from Solo platform. And on the other hand, we have 10 exemplary lodging plots from lodging plots. Here, interestingly shows highlighted here is how when the lodging happens. This happens about 50 days after planting. Here we have a dramatic drop on the height because we observed the lodging happen on that day. But interestingly, a few days after, the height back up again. And this is because after we observed the osmotic images, we discovered the maize plants are trying every of their effort to survive from lodging, and they originally start lodging, but finally they straight up again. So that's why the lodging plants, the height metrics going up again. But afterwards, in mid-June, there's another big lodging happens, caused by the heavy wind, and finally those guys, poor guys, cannot get survived anymore. So that's why it's in general in height it's lower. It's about 50 centimeters, 60 centimeters in general, compared to non-lodging ones. And those are the ground measured lodging plants versus UAS estimated lodging plants. This is the correlation compared to the black dot line. Black dot line shows the one-to-one relationship. We can see there's the direct relationship for one-to-one relationship to we can find for the ground measured lodging plants to estimate lodging plants. But here we can still see overestimate and underestimate. Overestimate refers to as the lodging detected by the algorithm, but it's not picked up by our ground data collector. This is because there are two main reasons. The first reason is inaccuracy introduced by our data collector. Look at this data, because here is, in our algorithm, we detect lodging happen here, 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 lodging plants, but it's not picked up by our ground data collector. I spoke with the ground data collector, but I finally realized we cannot expect the ground data collector to be that precise picking up the lodging counts, because we cannot expect a data collector to use the protractor to precisely, to measure the angle for 60 degrees, 70 degrees, especially in the field which is over 100 degrees in Fahrenheit. That's way impossible. So this is the main reason for overestimate. And the other overestimate reason is the late in the season, some plant structures is liable to fail in forming closed canopy cover in point cloud, that leads to an underestimate of the height. And also here we can also observe underestimate. Underestimate mainly caused by leaves from non-lodging grades extend to lodging grades. So that somehow deceive our lodging algorithm, lodging detection algorithm. And this is for this is the number of, this is to compare the number of UAS estimated lodging and the ground measured lodging. This is to compare the plant number. This is to compare the lodging rate. So for the lodging rate is pretty much alike, but I summarized a few other reasons for the error sources for both the overestimate and underestimate. The other sources of errors are grid step, because we predefined the grid step. This is we define this 0.02 point meters, which is the reciprocal, which also means this is about the size of one plant. But if you move this number a little bit larger or smaller, this algorithm can make a little bit different change on the result. The second is the seeding rate is used for calculating stand count in our UAS, because we want to minimize the ground data usage for our algorithm that's just to maximize the automation of our algorithm. The third is the ground lodging was collected on July 25th, while the flight was taken on June 30th. But this is technically sound, because from a literature we discovered that at this growing stage, the plants basically less likely to further straighten up or to fall down. So, but this is, anyhow, this is a kind of error source for the last year. And this is the correlation between the lodging rate against the yield. The red color shows the yield versus ground measured lodging. And while the blue dot shows the yield versus UAS-derived lodging rate. We can they align pretty very well to each other. The yield versus ground measured lodging and the yield versus UAS-derived lodging. But here we can observe there's still several measurements from the plots off from the linear relationship. This is because also has two reasons. The first is a reduced number of the stand count in some plots, even if the lodging rate was low, because we observed for some plots, even if the lodging rate is 0, but there were just sparsely located plants. So that means the total number of plants is low in some plots. That caused some points in this area. And another minor reason is because the phenotypic differences in terms of the genetic suitability, seed origin, and the management treatments over the plots. Well, I'm not going to expand this too much on this correlation matrix. And to summarize, the UAS imagery is able to accurately estimate maize height over the growth season. And the second is the lodging can be identified by analyzing canopy structural anomaly and complexity by leveraging a group of height statistical metrics. And third, the proposed lodging estimate method has a great potential of assessing lodging severity in terms of the number of lodged plants and the lodging rate. Here, the last summarize the improvements to be made. The first is the spectral features of lodging plants. At this stage, we just use the structural complexity and anomaly, but we haven't used the spectral features. The second is definition of lodging and more accurate ground data collection, because remember we defined lodging in this study as 60-degree incline from the vertical position. But this is hard. This is also subjective. And third is as a lodging data collection early stage. That is to avoid possible structure loss. And lastly, we would like to appreciate very much to all of our collaborators for the flight imageries and the ground data collection, as well as for the planting and the plot management. Okay.